Welcome to Fairy Tales English Journey, where we master B1 to B2 English through the magic of stories.
Welcome to Fairy Tales English Journey. Today we will explore a very famous story. Everyone knows the sweet tale of the sleeping princess. She pricks her finger and sleeps until a prince wakes her. But did you know the first version of this story is completely different? The original tale holds many dark and hidden secrets. The story we know today comes from a famous animation studio. They gave us fairies and a beautiful castle. They gave us a handsome prince who fights a dragon. But long before that movie existed, a writer named Giambattista Basile wrote the first version. His story was called Sun, Moon, and Talia. It is quite shocking. Learning English through fairy tales is a wonderful adventure. Today we will practice our English listening skills while discovering history. We will look at the older version of Sleeping Beauty. You will learn new vocabulary words. You will also see how stories change over hundreds of years. Let us begin our journey into the past. In the year 1634, Giambattista Basile published a book of fairy tales. This was long before the Brothers Grimm or Charles Perrault wrote their stories. Basile lived in Italy and collected local legends. His stories were meant for adults, not children. Because of this, his tales contained very serious and frightening themes. Our story begins with a wealthy lord. He lived in a grand estate in Italy. One day, his wife gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. They named the baby Talia. The lord was so happy. He wanted to know the future of his daughter. He invited wise men to his home to predict her fate. The wise men looked at the stars. They studied the sky for many hours. Finally, they told the lord some very bad news. They said that Talia would face a great danger. The danger would come from a small piece of flax. Flax is a plant used to make cloth and thread. The lord was terrified. The father wanted to protect his precious daughter. He made a strict rule for his entire house. He commanded that no flax or spinning wheels could ever enter his home. He thought this would keep Talia safe from harm. For many years, the plan worked perfectly. Talia grew into a lovely and gentle young woman. One day, when Talia was older, she looked out her window. She saw an old woman walking by the house. The old woman was spinning thread from flax. Talia had never seen this before. She was very curious. She went outside to ask the old woman about the strange tool. This was a terrible mistake. Talia asked the old woman if she could try spinning the thread. The old woman smiled and handed her the spindle. As soon as Talia touched the flax, a small piece went under her fingernail. Instantly, she fell to the ground. She was completely motionless. The dark prophecy of the wise men had come true. The old woman ran away in fear. The father found his beautiful daughter lying on the floor. He cried bitterly because he could not wake her. He thought she was gone forever. He could not bear to bury her in the cold ground. Instead, he made a very strange and sad decision about her resting place. The father carried Talia to one of his country estates. He placed her on a beautiful velvet chair in a grand room. He locked the doors of the house. Then he walked away and left her there alone. He abandoned the house completely. The house was forgotten, and the forest grew thick around the building. Many years passed by. Talia sat in the velvet chair, never moving and never waking up. She did not grow older. She looked exactly as she did on the day she touched the flax. Vines covered the windows of the house. Wild animals roamed the woods outside. No one remembered the sleeping girl inside the locked room. One sunny afternoon, a king was hunting in the forest. He was a powerful ruler from a nearby land. The king brought his hunting dogs with him. One of his favorite dogs ran away. The dog ran through the thick trees and disappeared. The king followed the dog to see where it had gone. The king walked through the dense forest. Suddenly, he saw the old abandoned house. His dog was standing near an open window. The king climbed through the window to get his dog. He walked through the dusty halls. He opened the door to the grand room. There, he saw Talia sleeping in the velvet chair. The king was amazed by her beauty. He called out to her, but she did not answer. He shook her gently, but she did not wake up. He realized she was under a powerful magic spell. The king felt a strong affection for the sleeping girl. He spent some time admiring her lovely face. In the original story, the king did not break the spell. He did not wake her up with a kiss. Instead, he gathered his hunting dogs and left the house. He went back to his own kingdom. He left Talia sleeping in the chair. He returned to his royal duties and his busy life. There is a very important detail about this king. He was already married to a queen. He kept his visit to the forest a secret. He did not tell anyone about the beautiful sleeping girl. Months passed, and the king continued to rule his land. Meanwhile, magic was working in the abandoned house in the forest. While Talia was still sleeping, a miracle happened. She gave birth to 2 beautiful babies. One was a boy, and the other was a girl. Fairies came to the house to help care for the babies. The fairies named the boy Sun and the girl Moon. The babies slept next to their mother in the grand room. One day, the baby boy was hungry. He tried to find his mother to get milk. Instead of finding her mouth, he found her hand. He began to suck on her finger. He sucked so hard that he pulled the piece of flax out from under her nail. The magic spell was finally broken forever. Talia opened her eyes for the first time in many years. She was very confused. She saw 2 beautiful babies beside her. She did not know how she got there. She did not know who the babies were, but she felt a deep love for them. She hugged Sun and Moon and smiled with great joy. Back in the kingdom, the king remembered the beautiful sleeping girl. He decided to go back to the forest to see her again. He rode his horse to the abandoned house. He climbed through the window just like before. He walked into the grand room. He was shocked by what he saw waiting for him. The king saw Talia awake and smiling. He saw the 2 beautiful babies. He was overjoyed. He told Talia who he was. He explained how he had found her sleeping. Talia and the king spent many hours talking. They became very close friends. The king promised to take care of Talia and the 2 babies. The king had to return to his castle. He could not take Talia with him. He was still married to his queen. He told Talia to wait in the forest house. He promised to visit her and the children often. For a while, the king kept his promise. He visited them in secret every week. The queen noticed that her husband was acting strange. He was leaving the castle very often. He always said he was going hunting, but he never brought back any animals. The queen was a very jealous and cruel woman. She wanted to know where the king was going. She decided to find out his secret. The queen called for the royal secretary of the king. She gave him a bag of gold coins. She ordered him to follow the king into the forest. The secretary followed the king secretly. He saw the king visit the abandoned house. He saw Talia, Sun, and Moon. The secretary returned and told the queen everything. The queen was furious. She was filled with extreme anger and jealousy. She wanted to destroy Talia and the babies. She created a very wicked plan. She sent a message to Talia in the forest. The message said the king wanted to see the children at the castle. Talia believed the message was completely true. Talia dressed Sun and Moon in their best clothes. She sent them to the castle with the royal guards. She stayed behind in the forest house. When the children arrived at the castle, the king was not there. The wicked queen took the children. She called for the royal cook to come to the kitchen. This is where the story becomes very dark. The queen gave the cook a terrible order. She told the cook to prepare the children for dinner. She wanted to feed them to the king. The cook was a good man. He was horrified by this evil command. He knew he could not hurt the innocent children. The cook took the children and hid them in his own home. His wife promised to keep them safe. Then, the cook prepared 2 young farm animals for the royal dinner. He cooked them with delicious spices and sauces. He served the meal to the king. The king ate the food and said it was wonderful. The wicked queen watched the king eat. She smiled a very evil smile. She thought the king was eating his own children. She felt very proud of her cruel trick. But her revenge was not finished yet. She still wanted to punish Talia. She sent another message to the forest house the very next morning. The new message said the king wanted to see Talia at the castle. Talia was so happy. She traveled to the castle right away. She walked through the heavy wooden doors. She expected to see the king and her children. Instead, she found the wicked queen waiting for her with a very angry look. The queen yelled at Talia. She called her terrible names. She told Talia that her children were gone forever. Talia cried tears of great sadness. The queen ordered her guards to build a huge fire in the courtyard. She planned to throw Talia into the flames. Talia begged for a few moments to take off her clothes. The queen agreed to wait. Talia took off her beautiful dresses one by one. With every piece of clothing, she cried out in sorrow. Her loud cries echoed through the castle walls. She was hoping someone would hear her. She was hoping for a miracle to save her from the terrible fire in the courtyard. The king heard the loud cries. He recognized the voice of Talia. He ran out to the courtyard as fast as he could. He saw the huge fire. He saw his wicked queen standing there. He saw Talia crying. The king demanded to know what was happening. The queen proudly confessed her evil plan. The queen told the king that she had fed him his own children. The king fell to his knees. He wept loudly for his lost babies. He was filled with incredible grief and anger. He ordered the guards to grab the wicked queen. He also ordered them to grab the royal secretary who had helped her. The king commanded that the queen and the secretary be thrown into the fire. The guards obeyed his strict orders. The wicked queen and the spy met their end in the flames. The king thought his children were gone. He turned to the royal cook in anger. He wanted to punish the cook for making the meal. The cook fell to his knees and begged for mercy. He explained his secret plan. He told the king that Sun and Moon were safe. He said they were hiding at his house. The king was amazed and filled with absolute joy. He hugged the cook and thanked him for saving the innocent little children. The king ordered his guards to bring the children to the castle. Sun and Moon ran into the arms of their mother and father. The family was finally reunited. The king rewarded the brave cook. He gave the cook a high position in the royal court. The cook and his wife lived comfortably forever after. With the wicked queen gone, the king was free to marry Talia. They had a grand wedding at the castle. Everyone in the kingdom celebrated for many days. Talia became the new queen. Sun and Moon grew up to be strong and wise leaders. They all lived happily in the castle for the rest of their lives. This original story is very different from the modern movie. The modern movie is a simple story about true love. The prince is a hero who fights a dragon to save the princess. In the old story, the king is not a perfect hero. He makes many mistakes and hides many dark secrets from his family. Basile wrote this story to show the harsh reality of life. In the 1600s, life was very dangerous. People faced disease, war, and cruel rulers. The fairy tales from that time reflected those fears. The stories were meant to teach adults about human nature. They showed that even kings could be selfish and weak. In the modern movie, the villain is a magical fairy. She curses the baby because she was not invited to a party. In the original story, the real villain is the wicked queen. She is a normal human being driven by jealousy. This shows that ordinary people can sometimes do very cruel and terrible things. The magic in the original story is also different. The sleep is caused by a prophecy, not a curse. The spell is broken by a baby, not a romantic kiss. This highlights the strong bond between a mother and her child. It shows that family love is the most powerful magic in the entire world. Let us review some important English vocabulary from our story. The word prophecy means a prediction about the future. The word dense means very thick and hard to see through. The word abandoned means left alone and forgotten. Practicing these words will help you understand more complex English stories. You are doing a great job learning. We also used the word grief. Grief means a very deep sadness, usually when someone is lost. The word reunited means brought back together after being apart. Using these emotional words helps make your English sound more natural. Try to write a short sentence using each of these new words in the comment section below. Over time, writers changed the story of Sun, Moon, and Talia. Charles Perrault wrote a version called The Sleeping Beauty in the Wood. He removed the king being married. He made the villain an ogre mother instead of a jealous wife. The brothers Grimm changed it even more. They created the version we call Briar Rose. The brothers Grimm wanted their stories to be safe for children. They removed the dark ending completely. They ended their story right after the prince wakes the princess with a kiss. This is the version the famous animation studio used for their movie. It is fascinating how one story can change so much over time. What is the moral of the original story? It teaches us that truth will always come out. The wicked queen tried to hide her evil actions, but she was caught. The brave cook risked his life to do the right thing, and he was rewarded. It reminds us to always choose kindness over cruel jealousy. Thank you for joining Fairy Tales English Journey today. We hope you enjoyed learning the dark history behind this famous tale. Practicing English with stories makes learning fun and exciting. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends who are also learning the beautiful English language. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Next time, we will explore another classic fairy tale with a surprising history. Keep practicing your English every single day. Read books, watch videos, and speak out loud. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. Goodbye from Fairy Tales English Journey.